All right, Dallin Pepper is here, and we already figured out that's how you pronounce it. It's Dallin.
Yes, down.
You
Yep.
you are the first Dallin I've ever met. Is that a significant name in your family?
Not really. I think my parents just liked it, so they went with it.
Your father's not a Dallin, in other words.
Nope.
All
Nope.
right. So I've already introduced you, but it's pretty cool. How old are you?
I'm 17 years old.
So for the listeners, for most of us at 17, it was like, all right, what kind of trouble can I get into? You are winning the CrossFit Games.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's really what is most interesting to me. It's twofold. One, is it, I mean, you don't have a frame of reference, but is it unique to be a 17-year-old CrossFit Games champion? Like, what do your other friends think? What do your teachers think? And so, for example,
Yeah.
I'm listening to a lot about Muhammad Ali right now. And Muhammad
Hmm.
Ali was this amazing champion, went to the Olympics, and his teachers were like, we can't control this guy. Is
Yeah.
that is that what you're like? Are you just crazy? Like the school can't control you because you're like, hey, I'm the champ. I'm the champ.
No, so actually, when I first started competing, I played baseball and football before I started CrossFit, and I actually stopped playing those to focus on CrossFit. And I got a lot of crap for that at first, and people were mad I wasn't playing baseball and football anymore, and I was just lifting. I was just the kid that liked to lift. And so I was kind of like the odd one for a while. And then after I won the first games, people kind of were like, oh, this is kind of cool. So they started like kind of respecting what I was doing. And it was cool to see them realize the work I was putting in. But I try and stay as humble as possible at school. And if people don't bring up that I've won, then I don't like go up in their face.
Well,
But
when you show up with your white jersey, it's kind of obvious. So you say, well, you're humble about it, which is really awesome. And have you introduced any of your teachers to CrossFit? Like, do they do CrossFit and realize how good you are? Because if you don't know CrossFit, it's one of those sports that's easy to be like, oh, I can do that. Do you have teachers
yeah,
that do it and they're like, no, this kid is really good?
there's a couple of some of the baseball coaches do CrossFit, and so they realize that. And then there's a couple other teachers at the school that do, and then other ones will just see like me in the local newspaper after I had won, and they're like, "Whoa, I teach this kid," and they always bring it up when I'm back at school, so it's funny.
How big of a deal is it in Spanish Fork that you're the two-time champion, that you're going back to the CrossFit Games this year, currently, as the top seed?
Um, I feel like people support me a ton, and I appreciate that more than they'll ever know. I've got support from every gym around here, all my friends, family, and they're all rooting for me for a three-peat. So,
And most importantly, the girls. Is there like the girls just come out like of the woodworks? Like, for me, I was a wrestler and wrestling wasn't a big deal. Like you could be the best wrestler in school and no one cared. But if you played
no,
basketball, big deal. Do girls look up to you like and admire you because you are this champion?
um, not really sure. They
You're
like they like their baseball players.
Yeah, exactly. So is it what we were talking about? I was talking to your coach, Matt Torres, who owns the
Yep.
box that I go to, and we were saying how crazy it is in this day and age that like you alluded to, when we were kids, the only reason to go to the gym was to get better at our sport. Your
Yeah, yeah,
sport is basically the gym.
yeah.
What has that been like for you making that transition out of, team or organized sports into the world of CrossFit?
One thing like I always found it super intriguing about CrossFit, and one of the reasons I fell in love with it was like it's all on you, no matter what. Like you can't blame someone else for making a mistake or anything like that. What you do in the gym is going to reflect on the competition floor, and like it's all on you. You have nowhere to push the blame, and how hard you work is what results you'll earn. So
With that being said, have you what has been your biggest mistake in competition? Do you remember
in
one?
competition, there's so the obstacle courses at every single competition seem to just really get me. The first year at the 2017 CrossFit Games, uh, I was in the lead going into the obstacle course, and then I took 19th out of 20 kids,
So
and I
did they
bombed.
run it? Did they run it the same way they did the individuals, where it was 4-person heats, and if you lost, is that
No,
how they ran it for the
we
team?
had one try through it.
And it was just
And,
best time is in that
yep.
order.
hmm And I just bombed it. And then going into the 2018 games, they announced the obstacle course. And like, all right, this one's mine this year. And so going over the cargo net, there's black lines on the sides, and we weren't allowed to cross outside them. And there's like 3 people in my lane, and my foot went outside the line. So I had to go down the cargo net, back round, up and over again. I did better than 19th, but those were probably the 2 biggest mistakes.
Yeah, that year there was more to the workout, so you can probably make up a little bit of
Yeah.
time than on that one obstacle. Are
hmm
you now knowing the games, are back in Madison? Of course, we don't know exactly how it'll change. Are you doing any specific training for obstacle courses?
Not necessarily specifically for obstacle courses, but I'm playing other sports, and I think that's going to transfer over. I played baseball again this year. I actually have football right now. We have 2-a-days this week, but I think that's just learning and playing other sports again transfers over more than people think, and I think that's just making me a better athlete. And I know next time if there's an obstacle course that shows up, go into it relaxed and just see what happens.
What was the reason you decided to go back into baseball and football?
Um, I'm in high school, and sometimes I forget that. And I love baseball and football, and I don't want to regret not playing. So I played my junior year of baseball, and then I'll play my senior year of football and baseball again. So,
Has that interfered with your training?
um, I wouldn't say interfered. I haven't been able to train like I would like to or normally do, but it's like different training. Like the first week of baseball, I don't think I've ever been more sore, including after the CrossFit Games, just because it's so different. And I think I've actually been getting stronger, even though I've been training less with other sports getting in the way. But now that it's summertime, I'm focused on CrossFit.
So right now, from June until the end of July, is it just full gear, get ready for the games?
Yeah. Yep.
What does that look like? Does it change? So the average CrossFit athlete's putting in 4, 6, 8 hours a day.
hmm
They don't have to sit in school for 8 hours.
Yeah.
You probably have some homework. What does your day of training look like? How many hours are you putting in?
So thankfully I'm not in school right now, and I won't be until after the games. So I've
Oh,
got
so
summer
you're
off.
done already for the year.
Yeah. Yep. We're done with school. So typically I'll wake up, I'll get some breakfast. I actually coach down at the gym every morning. I do a kids and teens class, and then I'll train for 2 to 3 hours after I coach, and I'll come home and I'll eat, rest up, do some mobility, and then go back for another hour and a half, 2 hours, or go to my garage. So
How supportive are your parents in this?
I couldn't do without them. They're always making sure I have the food I need to eat, and they know that if I need to get to bed, then make sure I get to bed. And yeah, I just couldn't do it without them. They're the best.
Does your training trump family obligations?
It used to, and I'm glad it doesn't anymore. I've learned a lot the last couple of years. Those first 2 years, nothing would ever get in the way of my training, and which was great. Like I learned from it, and it paid off. But family is important, and having those experiences with family, friends, all that, creating memories is just as important as training.
Yeah, I mean, is it like, hey, dad's telling you to take the garbage? You're like, Dad, I need to rest. I got a big workout tomorrow. You take out the garbage? Like, is that what happens?
No,
No.
that'd be cool, but no, I got my jobs I got to do every day. 1 week of the year where I can pull that off is at the games.
Dude,
I don't carry my bags. They carry everything.
good parents. Are they into CrossFit as well?
Yeah, they both train, or they both work out at the same gym I go to. My mom's getting her level 1 this weekend, and my dad has his. So,
Oh, yeah, she's going this weekend to her level 1.
yep.
Is she gonna wear like one of your jerseys? We had I did I did a level 1, and it was Haley's mom, I believe.
Yeah,
And she came through and she was all, bragging about it. Was right before last year's games.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
So it was really cool to see. Now, most of the people I've had on Games Athletes, I've spoken to Austin, James Hobart, Chris Spieler. They've all been on the show. They are beat up. What does a teenager's body feel like?
Being a teenager is awesome. I mean,
Do you feel fine? Like, do you
yeah,
ever wake
like,
up and you're like, just I'm so sore, or are you good to go?
I mean, obviously you wake up really sore, but you start moving through it, you feel fine. There's little aches, but it's usually just tight muscles. Like you just eat enough and sleep enough, and as a teenager, you're doing fine. So,
When was the most sore you've ever been?
um, 2018 Wadapalooza. I could not walk down the halls of my hotel room.
What?
My grandma beat me.
Well,
It's
your
bad.
family is probably all fit, even grandma. But what what caused that? What was it? A specific workout? Just the culmination of all the training?
There was a swim, air squat, sandbag clean workout, and it was like 300 air squats. And when I start air squatting, I just kind of don't stop, and maybe I should sometimes because then my quads blow up, and like I just couldn't move with them.
And how long did that take to recover from?
A good week at least. It was rough.
But like you said, a little bit of sleep and some
Yeah, I
food.
mean,
So, do you have people talking to you? You know, you're 17. Again, relating it back to Muhammad Ali. Everybody's talking about, hey, are you worried about your brain? Are you worried about this? And he's like, no, no, I'll be fine. Of course, we know what happens years later.
yeah.
Are you at all concerned, hey, am I beating my body up a lot at this young age? What's going to happen when I'm 30? Or are you on top of it?
I consider myself very on top of it. If something hurts in any sort of way, I stop doing whatever's hurting it. Talk to my coach, Matt, and we work through it. We'll just avoid hurting that anymore. Um, my favorite subject in school is like how the body works and all that stuff. So I know how to take care of my muscles. I go get worked on, making sure I'm eating and sleeping and just staying healthy. There's no point in doing it if you're not healthy. So
Absolutely. When you say eating, what would you say you consume on a daily basis? I mean, the average parent complains about their teenage boys eating too much. I'd imagine you're eating significantly more than the average teenage boy.
yeah, it's about 4,200 calories. So it
Clean eating, or are you eating pancakes and donuts to get those calories in?
depends on the day. My nutrition coach from M2, she's taught me some tricks, how to get some calories in quick after workouts. So
So what's your best trick for that?
I like Fig bars. Those things are loaded with just
Fig,
calories.
like Fig Newton type bars?
Yeah.
And what's your go-to? Like, what would be your ultimate? I don't have to worry about how I feel after. Just eat this food.
Um, burgers and fries, sweet potato fries.
Burgers, that's paleo. That's still good for you. Um,
Good though.
when you're at the games, is it anything goes as far as nutrition, simply because you need to get the calories in?
I try and keep it pretty similar to what I'm doing during training and throughout the summer, but like I'm not super strict all summer. I just make sure I hit my numbers for my macros and calories and then do it the same at the games. Sometimes throw in some ice cream at night, get a little extra food in. So
Have you checked out Ian's Pizza in Madison?
no, but I will.
Yeah, you have to go there. Every year I get 4 slices after the games. So
That's what I'm
Ian's
talking
Pizza
about.
right downtown Madison. What's the discussion amongst the teenagers for this year for the games? You know, everybody lost their mind all year.
Yeah.
You know, it seems to me from a distance and talking to Matt that you guys are all pretty friendly and you keep in
hmm
touch. What have you guys been talking about when it comes to the games, the evolution of it?
So you mean like who's competing this year or like how the games are working?
Just how it's changed, both. Certainly who's competing, because I'll bring that up, but more
Okay.
so how it's changed. And I don't think it's impacted the teenage division quite as much,
Yeah.
but what's been your thought about it?
At first it was a real hit to me because my number one goal this year was regionals. Um, and then that just kind of got taken away. So that was kind of hard for a while, but you can only control what you can control. And I think eventually they'll work it out well and it'll go smoothly. It's not my favorite way they're doing it this year. There's people that should be there that aren't there, and but I'm excited to see what happens to it. It could be really good for the games and for the people competing.
You work out with some of the best in the world. I mean, you go to these boot camps, you do these other competitions. You know, I've seen pictures of you with Rich Froning. Is it strange for you to be friendly and competing with people that you probably looked up to 3 years ago?
It's really weird, especially like so when I first started, like the reason I started was because I saw the 2015 CrossFit Games, and so I knew all of the teenagers, like followed them all on Instagram. I had watched the events 100 times, and then I showed up in 2017 after watching 15 and 16, and all these kids were there. Some of them were right next to me in the lanes next to me, and it was weird. And then seeing all of the individuals there, and they're all great people. They'll talk to you, and I think it's good to see that they're just people too. They just know how to work.
Who's the coolest games athlete you've interacted with? You left and you were like, that guy or girl was really cool to me.
That's a tough question. I think Stacy Tovar. I actually was able to go train with her twice in 2017, and she just let me follow her around. She taught me all the tricks in the books, and it was really cool. She's just an awesome person.
Yeah,
So,
Stacy's a great girl. She runs CrossFit. I want to say
Omaha.
Omaha, yeah, in
Yeah.
Nebraska, yeah. It's my buddy Joe's old box. She bought it from him.
Okay.
Now, you say you watched 2015, you watched 2016. Where did you? Is that your first exposure to CrossFit? Did you just stumble upon it?
So my dad had started doing CrossFit at a box that's like 25 minutes from my house with my uncle. And I was currently playing baseball and football at the time. And they're like, hey, you should do this, just help you get stronger. Um, it'll help you in all your other sports. And I was like, no, working out for fun sounds stupid. I'm not going to do that. And then they tried for like 9 or 10 months to get me to do it. And then the CrossFit Games were on, and my dad had like seen the Froning movie. He's like, you got to watch this. And then so I saw the CrossFit Games. I watched all the individuals, and then I saw there was a teenage division. I was like, okay, so you can compete in this. It's not just like working out for fun. I mean, it is, but but I saw the teenage division, and I said I want to do that. And I started that day. I went out to the garage and started doing CrossFit, if that's what you can call it. It wasn't much CrossFit, but I learned, and now here I am.
Do you remember what your first workout was?
Um, I don't remember the first workout I did that day in the garage, but I know the first workout I did at Spanish Fort CrossFit was Annie.
And you had double unders on day one?
I did attempted double unders.
Attempted double unders.
A lot of whip marks.
So this is in 2015. So in less than 2 years, you go from, hey, I see it on TV or ESPN or the internet to actually there. In 2016, did you do the Open?
Yeah, I did.
But did you qualify for the games that year?
No, I was like 128th, and they took the top 10.
So the teenage division's always been 10 per age category, correct?
Well, in 2017 and 2018, they took the top 20, and then this year they dropped it back down to 10.
So it was 10. They went 20 for 2 years, and now it's back to 10. At
Yeah.
what point did you realize, hey, I'm actually pretty good at this?
I think the 2016 Open was good for me. I learned what like I needed to work on. And then I did a couple other qualifiers later in that year. And then I don't think it was till the 2017 Open. I took 5th that year, and I was like, okay. Because my goal was just to make it to the CrossFit Games, and I knew I could do that. But then when I took 5th, I'm like, I want to win this thing. So
Wait, so you have a skewed definition of good. Like most people would be like, hey, I'm top 1,000. Like I came in top 500 in my age group, and I was like, I'm really good at this thing. So there was no like idea that like, okay, I can maybe even make the games. Was it like a month in, you're like, hey, I'm picking up double unders. I snatched 225. Are your coaches, is your father, is somebody like, hey, Dallin, you don't know, but you're actually killing it?
Well, so it's funny because like I walked into Spanish Fort CrossFit and I told the owner, I was like, I want to go to the CrossFit Games. That was the first thing I told him.
Yeah, and speaking as an affiliate owner, we've heard that thousands of
Oh
times.
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what he told me. He's like, well, I've heard that, and like you're 14 years old. Like, let's see how this goes. And so then I just started working out, and then one of the coaches there kind of took me under her wing, and we started doing stuff. And she's like, "You've got a good shot." Like, they'd been doing CrossFit for years, and I think that support really helped me understand that I had a good shot, and just kept pushing me.
Who was that coach?
Lindy Young.
Lindy, and that's so all of your training for CrossFit at home has been at Spanish Fork CrossFit.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously you hit the road, you train all over, but that's your home base.
Yeah, that's the gym I go to the most.
And you had already had equipment in the garage before all of this happened?
Mm-hmm. Not a ton, but we had enough to do some stuff.
Do you remember the first workout where you beat your dad?
It probably was something with running because he doesn't run.
I mean, was that a goal of yours? You know, as a teenager, I remember wrestling. I was really small. So like my senior year, I grew a little bit, got strong. I was like, now I'm stronger than my dad. Did you?
It wasn't necessarily a workout. I think the first time I ever like outlifted him or anything, we were snatching and I was able to hit 200 and he was only like 190, 195. So I was pumped.
And was he like proud, but at the same time, like, wow, my son is.
Yep, that's exactly. Yep.
Do you have any?
I will never deadlift more than him. I'll give him that.
Well, is he? Is your family fit? Do you have any other siblings? Are they fit as well?
I have 4 younger siblings. They come to the kids class I do, but they're doing other stuff right now.
So your parents aren't like crazy TV parents that are like everyone's doing CrossFit.
No.
They all need to be CrossFit champions like
nope,
that.
They're just the average parents that go to the box every day. So
has it changed a lot though in the family? Is it just you see it in other sports even where the family becomes the wrestling family, the hockey family. Yeah. Are you guys the CrossFit family?
I guess you could kind of say that. For the longest time we were the baseball family, and then actually none of us played baseball for 2 years, and it was the weirdest thing. And so we started doing, a lot of us did CrossFit for a little bit. My brother's mountain bike. So you could kind of say we were the CrossFit family.
At what point when you're training at Spanish Fork, you realize it's going well, do you reach out to somebody and say, okay, I need my own coach for this?
So the old owner of Spanish Fork CrossFit did coach me the 2017 season. And then I went to a brute camp up in Salt Lake, just about an hour away. And I was up there, and once it was over, I realized like these are probably the best coaches in the whole world. And I learned so much from that camp. So I went up to Adrian Conway. I was like, hey, what do I need to do to be able to work with you guys in some coaching? And then he's like, well, we could start you on one of our tracks. And we just got talking for a minute. And then got home later that day. I got a call from Matt Bruce, the weightlifting coach. He's like, hey, we want you to be one of our athletes, and we're going to have Matt Torres coach you one-on-one. And I was pumped. I was so excited.
Yeah, so. Adrian probably didn't realize he was talking to a champ at the time, right? He blowing you off a little bit, and then they're like, who is this kid? Oh, he won? We'll take him on. What's your relationship like with Matt Torres?
He's the best coach I've ever seen. He understands, like...
In fairness, you've only had 2 coaches.
But, I mean, I've had other coaches in other sports. Like, no. But he's, like, the most understanding dude ever. He gets that, like, sometimes life gets in the way of training. He's just always there to help push me, and smartest coach I've ever seen.
Yeah, he's a really good dude, and he obviously cares a lot. So it's cool to hear that. Do you have any specific memories where Matt got you fired up? Like, was it at last year's games? Like, Matt's pretty calm in demeanor. Has he ever gotten fired up and excited?
There's been a couple of events where, like, it's been really close, and I just stuck to my game plan, like, executed, and I'll look up right after I finish, and he's fired up. It's cool. It's fun.
Yeah, Matt is really, really good at planning and
Mm-hmm.
attacking workouts. So I'm sure if you did it well and it yielded like a win there,
Yeah, yeah,
that he was really excited about it.
yeah, yeah.
So let's say you go back, you win this year, three-time champ. Now you've aged out, right? This is your
Mhm.
last year as a teenager. What's what's next in CrossFit? What are the goals there?
So I will be playing football and baseball and going still in school. The goal is to get to a couple sanctioned events next year, maybe one or two. We were looking at the Rogue one, and then possibly like Granite Games in the summer. Um, just go out there, get the feel for the sanctioned events, and then later that year, the next year, be on the big floor.
So you want to transition from teenager to individual the next
Yeah,
year. So you're
yeah,
going to do the October Open. You will be officially an individual male in this October Open,
yep,
and then long term, is your plan to go to school after high school? I'm in
yeah. I'll go
college.
to school. Yep.
What's your at 17, I had no idea what I want to do. At 41, I still don't. But do you have an idea of what you'd like to do in your life?
um, I thought like I enjoy like how the body works, like I said earlier. So like health sciences and different things like that interest me. So I'll probably go down like the health route, some sort of like doctor or something like that. And then I've also thought about engineering. So I'm kind of on the fence.
All right, you can combine those, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, do you secretly, or maybe not so secretly, think to yourself, I'll go to school as a fallback, but CrossFit's my career?
The goal is to go to school and then never use my degree.
Yeah, that's what I want to hear. Because I mean, there's so much potential these days, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you go to the games and win once, that's 3 years salary or
Yep.
more, and not to mention the sponsorship that go. But good that your parents, I'm sure, are encouraging you to have a backup plan.
Yeah. And like school is important to me. It always has been. I work just as hard in school. That's one thing I would tell any kid: work hard in school. Oh.
So what we were talking about earlier is it seems to me like the teenagers are a really friendly bunch. Are you
Yeah.
guys all close together?
So this year is really interesting because there's only 10 of us, and me and then three of the other kids are best friends. We've hung out multiple times over the years. Last year, we all went to Seattle for a week. It's
For
so it's
for
me,
fun?
yeah, just to hang out and
Who,
train.
who are these three?
So it's me, James Sprague, Tudor Magda, and Reese Mitchell. And we were all there in 2017.
And
Me
these
and
are all male men,
yeah,
boys, whatever you
yep.
guys refer to yourself as. But because the names were like, Reese could go either way. Okay,
Yeah.
so the four dudes that are competing, you're friendly. You go to Seattle. Yep.
We were all there in the 2017 games, and then me and Tudor, who's also coached by Matt along with James, we were there last year. We both ended up winning. So before the 2018 games, we're just like, hey, let's all get together. So James and Tudor live out in Seattle. I flew out there, and then Reese came from England, and we just spent a good week together, and we're best friends. So
How hard is it? What's cool, I had really close friends in wrestling, and
yeah,
you had to basically fight them,
yeah,
right? Because they went to different schools, but you train together in these camps, you learn together. What's it like? Is this year will all four of you be in the 16, 17-year-old division?
yeah,
And all four of you have qualified.
yes,
So 40% of the male athletes in that 16, 17 are best friends.
yeah.
What is that like looking, assuming the last heat, you're going to be four across the middle lanes, right?
Yep.
What is that like? Hey, we put our friendship aside and we're going into this, but how do you guys act all week knowing you're competing against one another?
We're all there to win, and I think we all respect that. But like back in the warm up area, we're gonna be messing around. We're teenage boys, and we're just hanging out, having a good time. We like to keep it loose. It'll be fun.
And when you say messing around, you pranking each other, or is it just like
Uh,
fun talking trash?
Probably just talking trash. I wouldn't prank anyone in the middle of CrossFit Games. Maybe like after we finish.
Maybe you should this year. We can.
Just
So being a judge at the games, the male athletes talk trash, have fun. The girls
Yeah.
are insane. They are not talking to each other. Is it the same?
Yeah.
Is it the same for the teenagers?
The teenagers are exactly the same. The
You,
girls, like, they're all so nice. They're great, but they don't want to be talked to. They're in their zone, and when they're in the warm up area, you just don't talk to them. When they're in the corrals, don't say a word to them, and then they'll talk for a little bit after, and then they go back to just dead serious. So it's funny.
is there flirting going on amongst the 16, 17-year-old teenage boys and girls in the competitive ones?
Um, the ones that are there just for a good time, absolutely. The ones there to win, not a chance.
Do in the games, for example, I spoke to Carlene Matthews. She's a 3-time games competitor. She's going to the Masters this year. And she said, in all honesty, a lot of the competitors are there and they don't think they're going to win. There's 40 of them.
Yeah.
Being only 10 of you, do you think everyone is showing up knowing they have a shot to win?
Me personally, I'm nervous about every single guy there. They're all working to win, and they all have the same goal as I do. So I think everyone's there to win.
But do you have a target on your back coming back as a champ?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think Sprague, Tudor, and Reese talk about you and try to figure out how they can beat you?
They talk about me in a group chat that I'm in. Like,
it's behind your back, but to your face.
Yeah, to my face. They'll say stuff. Yeah.
You don't think they have another side chat that's just 3 of them and you're not on it?
I mean, probably. I'll ask them. They're actually coming here this weekend. So
now, Matt, how many of those guys is Matt also coaching?
So it's me, James, and Tudor.
So he'll
have 3 of the 10 athletes that he's warming up and coaching in that division.
Who is his favorite?
Me, obviously.
Do you really think you're his favorite?
No, he loves us all. I know he does, but we all have a lot of fun.
And that's the cool thing about CrossFit. He could be coaching you to game plan this way because your strength is in all balls, while somebody else. And it's not like I'm trying to beat this person. And I would assume, just like in wrestling, it's like I want to beat these guys knowing they did their best, not they did that.
Absolutely. Like, if someone were to get injured that's like there to really push me, I would hate that for them. Like, I want them to show up as their best, and then I want to beat them.
So in reality, though, only 3 of you could be on the podium.
Yes.
One of you is going to be, I'm assuming you were the 4 best, only because you were the 4 that I, know and like right now. So one of you is going to be kind of watching from the 4th place spot.
Yeah.
How is that going to be? Is it going to be like, hey, we feel bad, but the next day we're talking trash?
Yeah, I think it'll be like that. Like, everyone's out there doing their best, and what happens is what happens. So
you, in addition to all of this we've discussed, coach as well, you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
When did you get your level 1?
I got my level 1 in April.
Oh, just earlier this year?
Yeah, I've been helping out, like, kind of shadowing at the kids and teens class, but the coach that does that with me is actually moving, so I'm taking over that, and I love it. It's lots of fun.
Do you remember the trainers that were at your level 1? I assume you're in Utah. Doug Zakaris there? Doug
was there.
Yep.
And then Adrian and Becky.
Becky Harsh.
Yep.
She's a badass. So I just had Doug and Chris on the podcast together.
Okay.
So did they know who you were when you showed up?
Yeah. I mean, I work with Adrian a lot through Brute, and then FNX is one of the companies I work with. So when I walked in, he texted me before I went there, and he's like, hey, I'll see you this weekend. And then Doug, he's always at the games. And no, it wasn't Doug. Now it's leaving me.
Was it Joe Westerland?
No, it was the head judge for the teens.
I'm not sure it judges the teens. It might have been Jason McDonald or Eric O'Connor.
It was Eric.
Eric?
Yeah.
Eric is a funny guy.
Eric is my favorite. He has given me crap all weekend. So
He's one of the head coaches at CrossFit Park City. I think he's actually
yeah,
co-owner with Spieler.
yes, yep.
So you leave there, you passed your test. Were you excited? What's your next goal as a coach? If we look at it from simply just coaching now.
I like personally enjoy coaching the kids and teens just because I feel like I can relate to them more than some of the adults. Like the adults do great, but I like to go have fun with them and just make sure they're always laughing and having a good time. And you can teach them some cool life lessons because you have a whole hour that you can just like slip little stuff to them that's like, hey, be a good person, you know?
Yeah, so you're not only coaching CrossFit, you're coaching life to these teens.
Yeah, I think that's important. I think the gym somewhere, like you can create the environment that they feel like safe and confident in, I think that's important for every kid to have.
And do they really look up to you? I mean, because you're this champion, do the kids come in and like respect everything you're saying?
A lot of the parents of the kids I coach, like we know most of them, and they'll talk to my parents, and pretty much a lot of the kids, like they come hang out with me, and like they enjoy the CrossFit part, but we just have a good time. So
Do you have ambitions of owning your own box?
I think it'd be super cool. I would love to do that one day. I enjoy competing more than I do coaching at the moment, but life always changes. So
What would you name your box?
I actually had a project in business management in class, and I had to create a business plan for a business, and I chose a CrossFit box. So I did CrossFit Mountain.
CrossFit Mountain.
Yeah.
I like it. That's a cool name. Were your teachers like, of course, Dallin's
Yeah.
business plan is a CrossFit
Yep.
box?
Yep.
You know, how we touched on this earlier, but I just can't help but thinking at 17 how much you've accomplished. What do you do to actively stay humble? And I know that's maybe a strange question, but if I'm sure you're doing things regularly, because it would be so easy to be like, I'm the champ,
Yeah.
what are you doing regularly to keep yourself in check?
Well, the first thing, my mom has threatened me since I was 9 years old that if I become cocky, I will be put in a tutu. So that was the first thing.
So having that threat of wearing a tutu is always
Yes.
helpful. Yes.
Yep. And then I think with CrossFit, if you get cocky, you're done for. You get humbled every single day you go in the gym. There's always something to work on, and I think that's transferred over into school and any other sport or anything I'm working at. Is like you can always get better. Doesn't matter how good you are.
Do you remember a specific weakness in your training that you had to really work hard to improve at?
Strict handstand push-ups. We're still working on them.
What's your best set?
Probably like 22, 23.
I happen to be good at those. So to me, that's like, yeah, I can understand. But the average person listening, hearing that you could do 23 strict handstand push-ups and you call it a weakness, it's like, yeah, that's not too bad.
I mean, they've come a long way, but there's still work to do.
So let me ask you some quick stats if you can remember them, just to give people, that's so amazing, like what the potential of a 17-year-old is. What's your best snatch?
270.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my favorite lift ever right there.
Clean and jerk?
330.
330. Back squat?
400.
Deadlift?
450.
All right, so we have some room for improvement. I hear that. You have a 400-pound back squat, 330 clean. I think you should be pulling about 550.
I would like to, and maybe I'd catch up to my dad. But
all right, your dad. What's your dad's deadlift?
550.
Oh, it is 550. Okay, yeah. Let's talk about some classic girl workouts. Fran?
218. That's been a good year and a half.
That you got to get a sub 2-minute Fran, Dallin.
I know. I need that. It's like that's the stuff right there.
Did you do Murph last week?
I did.
What'd you get?
I got 42, 48 unpartitioned.
With a vest unpartitioned?
Yeah.
That's one of the most legit things you've said right there. So you went with a vest, 100, you did your mile, 100 pull-ups, 200, 300 consecutively back into that mile. That's pretty solid there. Matt let you do Murph. this close to the games? Was that a discussion?
Um, since he started coaching me, I told him I want to do Murph on Memorial Day, and he programs it. So
That was it.
yep,
Simple enough. Any
that's something.
other? What's that?
Go ahead.
I was just going to throw out a couple other classics. What about a 5K run?
I'm not sure on that one.
All right, maybe we'll talk to Matt. Have you test that?
Ooh, gross.
Any other workouts you're super proud of those scores?
My mile time. I have a 5:42 mile, and that went down to like 25 seconds in like 3 months last summer. So
Wow, a 5:40. Like if you just, Coach Glassman used to say, one day we'll see an athlete with a 5-minute mile and 500-pound back squat. And
yeah.
I mean, you're approaching both at 17, so that's really impressive. Are other coaches like reaching out to you? Not in the CrossFit world, but just like, is your high school wrestling coach trying to get you?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I would imagine he's like, please. I mean, you would be a monster on. Have you considered going into other sports for that reason, just because you're so fit?
Well, for football this year, like coaches are pretty excited that I'm playing. I'm excited to be playing again.
Are you good at football relative to CrossFit?
Yeah,
So
I'd say yeah.
is there any part of you that's like, okay, look, CrossFit's growing, the prize pool is growing, but all it takes is 1 year in the NFL to have millions of dollars. Is there any part of you that says I would rather maybe seek this out?
I think I took 3 years off, and I think those 3 years are very important to have if you're going to go play in the NFL. And the NFL isn't really a lifestyle I want to live. I would rather, like the difference between a professional football player and professional CrossFitters is very different, and I would lean towards the CrossFit side of things.
Yeah, not as many blows to the head on the competition floor of CrossFit.
Exactly.
Football. Now, when I was your age, I had to go get a real job. Not a real job, but as a busboy or a waiter. What's it like being a sponsored teenager?
It's interesting. I have not been paid by any companies yet.
Are you not allowed to?
Because of NCAA rules. I have to be 18.
Okay. So if you got paid, you would be ineligible to go to college? Is that what would be the issue?
It takes away
or scholarship?
Like scholarship stuff.
Gotcha.
Like yeah, I haven't found like exactly where it says anything like that, but I just don't really want to mess with that.
Being smart, smart. Yeah. There's more to be gained by getting your college tuition covered than
exactly.
$200 for an Instagram post.
Exactly.
But who are some of the companies that you are working with?
I work with Brute, obviously. They're my coaches. I work with FNX. They have the best supplements out there. They taste amazing. Rep Fitness. They help me out with some gear for my garage. Wad Relief, it's a muscle rub. Works great. I use it every day. And then Bear Complex.
The grips, right?
Yep, grips.
When you take supplements, is there concern? A lot of people that have popped for performance enhancers aren't actually taking them, right? But there's cross-contamination. Do you do anything? Are you really watching something or testing something differently, knowing that could be potentially an issue?
I know that. So Adrian, he works with FNX, he also works with Brute, and so anything that comes from Adrian, I know it's going to be fine. So I don't take anything but their stuff. Yeah,
I mean, people don't realize that could be. I mean, these supplements are being made in these factories where they can have anything going on in there.
Yep.
All right. Well, one question I always like to ask, and now you're young, so I'm anxious to see what the answer is going to be. A book that you recommend?
I was ready for this one.
All right. Cool. It can't be a like textbook from high school either.
Okay, that's fair. I wouldn't recommend a textbook. Those are boring. My favorite book, one that I could not set down, was David Goggins' Can't Hurt Me.
I just read that earlier this year. That was amazing. Yeah.
It's just a really cool book. you learn so much about mindset and just what your body and mind can do. Good.
Do you think what goes through your mind when you're competing? The average, like David Goggins says in the book, like 40%, right? That's what most of us are putting out there. And I know that's true. There are definitely workouts that I'm giving 40%, even though in my mind, sometimes I feel like it's 100%.
Yeah.
What are some of the thoughts that go through your mind when you're heading into the pain cave of CrossFit workouts?
I think it's a lot easier in competition when you're doing that because you have the environment that you're in. But in training, you have to fight through it. You have to know, like, it's all going to pay off in the end. It's going to suck right now. But if you want, like Matt Frazier always says, if he wants to have that great moment in front of people, he's got to have a lot of crappy moments by himself alone in the gym. So, and then one thing I always tell myself is champions don't feel bad for themselves. You got to just, you want to win, you got to do what you got to do.
Do you feel like you're giving, if you're giving 100% of the games, are you giving that same effort in every single workout you do? Or is that
Yeah.
hard to Are you really feel as if that's what's going on any day mat programs for you? You're giving that same, no different than if you were next to your buddies at the games?
The goal is to give 100% of whatever you have that day. That's something I've learned. Like, some days are off, but if you just give what you can that day, then that's your 100% for the day.
I like that. After reading that book, is any part of you thinking about joining the military, becoming special forces, whether it's Navy, Army?
I've always respected the military a ton. I don't know if, like, I would go into it, but, like, if there's like a draft or anything like that and they needed people, I would go. So.
Yeah, that book, when you're reading it, you're just like, I need to do this. I want to challenge yourself. But yeah, that's exciting. And that mindset piece is, how important do you think that is to you out there? Is that, if I were to say, because look, at any given, say Dave Castro's programming this year, there's 10 of you. He can program any which way that one of you wins. What allows Dallin to rise above everybody? What is it about you?
The mindset. That's like especially in the teenage division, some of the kids haven't quite learned that yet. And I personally know anyone there can beat me. I think I beat them mentally before I beat them physically.
I love it. Do you have any celebration planned when you win the 2019 CrossFit Games?
I'm going to eat my donuts that I get every time.
Where do you get your donuts from in Madison?
Nowhere in particular. I just like donuts.
All right.
So that's just kind of what we do. And then I'll go enjoy playing football. Senior year of high school. Not really celebrating that. It's kind of school, but
yeah, your coaches are going to be okay with you missing a couple practices?
Yeah, they'll be fine with it.
They'll be fine. And check out Ian's Pizza.
Yes, I will.
All right. Well, Dallin, where can everybody find you on the interwebs?
My Instagram is Dallin Pepper and then CF. And that's about all I use. So
all right. This has been really great. Interesting talking to you. I really enjoyed learning a bit about you. You wise for your years, which is really cool. And our mutual friend Matt has nothing but amazing things to say about you, and he's clearly rubbing off well because he is a good dude. So
yes, I appreciate it.
Hopefully I will see you in Madison. We're not sure if we'll be there judging or not yet this year, but I will be rooting for you, and I'm anxious to watch you with your buddies now. Now that I know, I'm going to see what this interaction is like. And, when Matt Frazier, I forget what workout he won, but he kind of pulled out some water bottles and started handing them out to the competitors. Remember that workout?
Yep.
I remember thinking that is such a mind,
oh yeah.
Like he just like, hey, I'm good. You guys need water? I'd like to see you do that this year.
Mind games are fun.
Mind games are fun. Well, thanks so much. And I got to give a shout out to your parents. They're doing it right. So I don't know if they're around, but let them know from this brief interaction that it's well and apparent that they're doing a good job. So that's hard work these days. I'm
Thank
sure
you. I appreciate it.
you got it. Well, thanks a lot, and we'll see you out in Madison.
Yeah, thanks for having me.